What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie Warfare. Here's a quick synopsis. A U.S. Navy SEAL team is trapped in a house in Ramadi, Iraq, after a surprise attack. The film stars DeFaro Wunatai, Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, Kit Connor, Finn Bennett, Joseph Quinn, Charles Melton, Michael Gandolfini, and Noah Centineo. Standout performances. Warfare isn't a movie that I would call a great acting showcase for anyone. However, I do want to talk about the three actors who got me excited about this movie in the first place. First, there's Will Poulter, who I first saw as the lovable doofus Kenny, who's a deer in headlights in Where the Millers, and he has made interesting choices since. He's played a racist cop in Catherine Bigelow's Detroit and Mark and Ari Aster's Midsommar. He was great playing these easily hateable characters in those films. Poulter is someone who has also turned down big projects. I mean, he was going to play Pennywise in the It films and was also going to be in The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, that overexpensive Amazon show, and he eventually was in a big blockbuster, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as Adam Warlock, who is a bit of a dimwit. I also want to state I loved Will Poulter in the Hulu miniseries Dope Sick, where he plays a sales rep who begins to feel guilty. In Warfare, Poulter plays Eric, the officer in charge of the Navy SEAL Team Alpha 1, and it's for the most part a stoic role. He's a well put together leader. His best scene to me is when he admits that he's no longer okay enough to be in charge. I found that to be really admirable, to admit he's not okay and that he's shell-shocked. Poulter's next movie is I Love Boosters with Keke Palmer, Demi Moore, Lakeith Stanfield, Naomi Ackie, Isa Gonzalez, and Taylor Page from writer-director Boots Riley. Next is Joseph Quinn, who feels like he's in everything right now, and there's a small part of me that wants to be annoyed about that. The overexposure is real, but man, he's been impressive. His villainous turn in Gladiator 2 was fun and comedic, while his role in A Quiet Place Day 1 is far more subdued. Warfare is more of the latter. Quinn plays Sam, who is badly injured. The word I would use to describe the performance is vulnerable, which is not something you always see in a war film. Quinn has some big movies on the way. This summer he stars as Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four: First Steps, and it was recently announced he will be playing George Harrison in a series of biopics about the Beatles from director Sam Mendes. I think Joseph Quinn is a very good actor and has the potential to be a movie star if both of those movies land. Where I'm at with him, though, is I want to see if he can carry an entire film on his own. I mean, he has these moments in these movies, but can he be a leading man in a big film? I want to see it, and he's certainly going to get the chance to do so. And finally, you have Charles Melton, who proved with Todd Haynes' May December with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore he's an actor to take seriously, and he proves with Warfare that it wasn't a one-off. He plays Jake, an assistant officer who takes charge. There's a big part of me that believes Melton is going to be a future movie star, because I believe all of the best directors are going to want to work with this guy. He has become such a good actor. Melton will next star in the second season of the Netflix series Beef with Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, and Kaylee Spaney. One of the things I'm most interested in when it comes to war films is they are, throughout movie history, a collection of great cast. So many of these movies feature huge ensembles. Examples include 1979's Apocalypse Now, 1986's Platoon, 1987's Full Metal Jacket, 1989's Casualties of War, 1998's Saving Private Ryan. Also in 98 is The Thin Red Line, 2001's Black Hawk Down, and 2017's Dunkirk. Don't get me wrong, there are some great actors in those movies giving great performances, but they are not movies defined by one singular movie star. What these movies have become is an encapsulation of who the it actors are of the moment. I mean, at the height of his fame in the 80s, Michael J. Fox decided to make a serious drama with casualties of war and go toe-to-toe with Sean Penn. Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down has two big figures of the early 2000s, Josh Hartnett and Orlando Bloom. I mean, Hollywood really tried to make those guys happen, and look, they did happen to a certain extent, but they were way bigger back then than they are currently. I also want to state on the record that I love the fact that Josh Hartnett is having a resurgent run. My point is, war films were made for young actors. I mean, Matt Damon, coming off of Good Will Hunting, plays a supporting role in Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. There's something cool about seeing a group of actors just want to be a part of a big movie. Like, it's not about them getting a huge payday. It's not about them bringing home an Oscar trophy. It's about being part of a story. That's why these movies resonate with me so much. And of the films I've mentioned, the one that I believe Warfare has the most in common with is Dunkirk. I love the performances in Dunkirk, specifically the one coming from Tom Hardy. I believe that was the last great Tom Hardy role in a movie. He is beyond brilliant in Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. That final scene is all-time great. But what I think that Dunkirk is going for, and I also believe Warfare is going for the exact same thing, is realism. These are not movies that are trying to be overly theatrical. There are not big speeches right before a battle scene in these films. The other similarity to me is, like Dunkirk, Warfare is not about a victory. It's about survival of its characters. Dunkirk was truly the first war film that I watched and went, wow, this is greatness that I'm seeing. And while Warfare doesn't quite match it, I am impressed by the film overall. The co-writer-director of Warfare is Alex Garland, who in back-to-back years has tackled the subject of modern war, first with last year's Civil War, which was looking at it from the perspective of a journalist, and now with Warfare, it's from the views of the soldiers themselves. Warfare is based on a real event that happened to co-director Ray Mendoza. Mendoza and Garland have both described the movie as a memory of true events. I do want to go deeper on Alex Garland, one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. When he makes a movie, I want to talk about it on this very podcast. For a long time, I just viewed him as a sci-fi guy, and I no longer do, because man, he has proven he is so much more with these last two movies. And I don't make this comparison lightly, but he really does remind me a lot of Stanley Kubrick. He has a lot of Kubrick in him. His movies are really excellently written and has proven he can make movies within different genres, and I want to see him work within all of them. I personally want to see Alex Garland make a Western. Garland continues to talk about the fact that he wants to take a break from directing. He is, however, going to continue to be a screenwriter. He has the 28 Years Later movie coming out this year, which sees Danny Boyle come back to direct the film. I love the work of Danny Boyle. I believe he is an all-time great filmmaker. He's an Oscar winner. He's a prestigious figure. I love Danny Boyle. But I do believe Alex Garland should be the one writing and directing these trilogy films. Why is he not making these movies? The films he made with Boyle are great. I really like 28 Days Later. I absolutely adore the film Sunshine. My point is, over the last decade or so, Alex Garland has done better work as a director than Danny Boyle. No offense to the film Yesterday, which I'm one of the few people that actually like that film. The last great Danny Boyle film was Steve Jobs back in 2015. These are the 5 films written and directed by Alex Garland. 2014's Ex Machina, an all-time great science fiction film. 2018's Annihilation, an underrated science fiction film. 2022's Men, a film that's impossible to describe, but you really need to see it. 2024's Civil War, one of the best movies of last year, and this year's Warfare. Alex Garland is the type of guy who this movie studio should give a blank check to and let him make whatever kind of movie he wants to make. And I'm fully aware he probably didn't want to direct the film 28 Years Later. Maybe there's a reason he he wanted to reunite with Danny Boyle. He wants to work with directors again and just be the screenwriter. But man, he has become one of the best directors as well. He is someone who gets great performances. In Ex Machina, he got 3 great ones from Donald Gleason, Oscar Isaac, and Alicia Vikander, who has never been better. Annihilation definitely has one of my favorite performances from Natalie Portman. Men has a terrific turn from Jessie Buckley. Civil War has my favorite leading performance of Kirsten Dunst's career. And I really do believe that the actors in this movie Warfare really stand out during certain moments because of the direction of Alex Garland. Warfare would be the best film of almost any other director's filmography, but in my personal list of Alex Garland films, I have it behind Ex Machina, Civil War, and Annihilation. And I believe the thing that he does better than almost any other director is he structures his films brilliantly. I believe the structuring of movies matter, and man, does this guy know how to structure a movie. He knows which scenes are going to compel the audiences, and he knows how to give you a crazy ending that you're always going to want to talk about. We really should talk about the overall filmmaking in Warfare. It really is beyond impressive. It's, dare I say, immersive, which I have to admit is a term overused. It's really capturing a time and a place. I did find Warfare to be more grounded than other recent war films. I mean, Dunkirk, like I said earlier, is in a much bigger scale. Like, that feels more epic. 1917 is a movie that is kind of a look at me kind of movie. And I know some people say that in a bad way. I really like the movie 1917. I just think Warfare is a completely different kind of film. I found the pacing of both Dunkirk and 1917 to be more intense. I mean, there is a calming beginning to Warfare. I mean, the characters in the story are really relaxed at the beginning of the movie. And that to me was the total point of this film, is that their day goes from normal to super chaotic right in a flash. Like, it goes from 0 to 100. That is the point of the movie, to give you a taste of what real war is like, and how for many of the characters their worst nightmares are now being realized. Warfare is not the movie I expected it to be, and I mean that in a good way. Like, it wasn't what I was expecting, and that is something that I find super impressive about Alex Garland as a filmmaker, is he doesn't make the cliche choices we've all seen over and over again in other movies. This is something that I've seen on the internet, and we seem to have this conversation every time there's a new war movie out. And then we ask the question, is this a movie that's pro-war or anti-war? And I think that comes down to how the viewer views the movie. Some people will look at this movie and say it is definitely pro. Some people will look at this movie and say it's anti. That's why it's really interesting to me that Garland and Mendoza are just telling people this is a memory. Like, this isn't our opinion of what happened. This is this man's recollection of true events. Mendoza just wants to show what he and his friends went through to survive. I don't view Warfare as some grand statement about war overall, the way that I viewed Civil War as a grand statement. I don't think that those movies are parallels in that way. They are very different. But they are interesting artifacts because they are created by the same person. Alex Garland made both Civil War and Warfare. So people are going to bring a lot of their views on that movie to this one, fair or unfair. I do want to talk about the positive reaction of this movie because I am a bit surprised that this movie is getting overwhelming love, and I think it's well due. Alex Garland is a great filmmaker. Ray Mendoza is also doing a great job of telling his story. What I'm just not quite understanding is, why didn't we give this exact same kind of love to Civil War? I mean, of the two movies, I much prefer Civil War, and I really like Warfare, but Civil War is the one to me. I think that's the more interesting object. And there's a few reasons why. I mean, the Kirsten Dunst performance is up there for me. I really like all the stuff between her and Kaylee Spaney. The scene with Jesse Plemons, I mean, that is one of the most scary scary scenes in films recently. That film's ending is tremendous. Maybe it's a good thing that Civil War was a more polarizing film. I think it proves that it is a more interesting movie to talk about. I have seen Civil War 3 times now, and every time I watch it, I don't understand how Alex Garland didn't get Oscar nominations for that film, how Kirsten Dunst didn't get an Oscar nomination for that film, and how Jesse Plemons did not get an Oscar nomination for that film. I know it's unfair to pit these two movies against one another, but I don't understand why Civil War did not get the praise that it feels like Warfare is currently getting. It is starting to feel like I am in the minority and that I believe Civil War is the better movie overall. And maybe I prefer Civil War just because I like movies that have things to say about the subject matter, whereas the movie Warfare really is just a depiction of true events. Looking at Civil War as Alex Garland's opinions is just way more interesting to me. And I have to admit, I am someone who prefers movies that are all about the acting performances, and I do believe that Civil War is way more about the acting than Warfare. I think Warfare is about the filmmaking, whereas Civil War is more of a character study. I mean, I walked away from that movie with newfound respect for Kirsten Dunst. I now believe she's a way better actress than I did before I saw that movie. Having said all that, both movies are well worth your time. This gets me back to something I was talking about earlier. Alex Garland is so good at structuring his movies, both films, Civil War and Warfare. Every scene in them has a purpose. He is not wasting your time. There's no funny business in any of the movies he's directed. So the hope with a movie like Warfare that has a huge ensemble of young actors is that some of them emerge and become big movie stars. Like if Joseph Quinn's name continues to rise and he becomes an A-list actor, more and more people are going to revisit this film. The same goes for Charles Melton and Will Poulter. The bigger they are, the more eyeballs come to the movie Warfare. I have no idea how much money this movie is going to make throughout its box office run, but I do know that if these actors become bigger and bigger, more people are going to watch this movie, more people are going to revisit this movie. One of the best things about Warfare is how it displays the bond between these men, and not in a cliche, boring way. In a realistic, we were once co-workers, now we are brothers kind of a way. That is enjoyable, entertaining, and most importantly, makes you root for the characters in the movie. It makes you care for them and it makes you empathetic towards them. As you can tell, I am a fan of war movies and I hope the genre doesn't go away because I like these huge ensembles. Again, there are so many movies that have one leading actor and the entire movie is about them. There are very few that has this giant collection of young talent, but you see that in these films, and you definitely see it in Warfare. You see a bunch of guys who have the potential and who have led movies on their own, but instead of doing that for the moment, they have decided to be a part of this huge ensemble, to be a part of a movie worth talking about. And yeah, do I roll my eyes a little when I hear an actor talk about how he went to boot camp with his fellow co-stars? Absolutely. That part of it feels annoying to me. But I really do like the fact that any actor of any generation wants to be in this kind of movie. And you can see why. The success rate is super high. And usually at the helm of them is a noteworthy filmmaker. Stanley Kubrick, Christopher Nolan, Oliver Stone, and with Warfare, Alex Garland, who I really hope continues to write and direct movies. There's no one else making movies quite like him. Again, in back-to-back years, he's made Civil War and Warfare. That is beyond impressive. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out the movie Warfare. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the spy film The Amateur, starring Rami Malek, Lawrence Fishburne, Katrina Balfe, John John Bernthal, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Rachel Brosnahan. So tune into that and please rate, review, and subscribe.